Hey, my name is Nathaniel Rose, and this is my final for Spirit Empowered Church and Acts 2 ministry model. Tell a little bit about myself. I'm currently on staff at a church in Chattanooga, Tennessee called C4 Church, and I've been on staff for about a year. And through this, my pastor has taken me through an internship process, which culminates with me accomplishing Pathways. And so there are 3 sections from this course specifically that I want to focus in on, and these are sections 2, 3, and 4. And so section 2 covers change in the church, and how it is possible. It requires the effort of everyone involved in order to see success. Section 3 covers the priesthood of all believers, and so we're just going to get into what that means and just talk about it. And then lastly, section 4 covers empowerment and how we are transformed when the Holy Spirit enters us. And so we're going to talk about that. So without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. Starting off, we get into section 2, change in the church. And so this section is very unique to me because I'm pretty much living in it. The closer I grow to the Lord, the more I've begun to develop my own relationship with the Lord and have seen how He's begun to work in my generation. And so it's said that my generation and the generation to come will be some of the most faithless generations that have ever existed, and that we will be the ones that will walk away from the Lord completely. And I want to say that is the farthest thing from the truth. As I have interacted with more and more young people across the world, I have seen inside of them a desire and a fire so great that it far outmatches anything of this previous generation. And I'm not saying that to say that we're any better or holier than you are, but what I've seen is that we will not be satisfied with where y'all have gone. The job of the previous generation is to help raise us, to help raise this generation to go further than what y'all did. You may have gone, 3 steps, but now we have to start here and keep going. But if the church doesn't change, then we'll never get there. If we repeat the exact same thing that your generation did or the generation before us did, we will never be able to reach a deeper place. And so I'm not saying that churches should just hand over everything to next generation, let all the kids decide, the young adults, you can do whatever you think is best. No, but I believe that we should be able to work together. If that means the materials for sermons have to change, so be it. If the songs have to change, because as you can see in this generation, songs have begun to evolve. They're not the same as they were 50, 100 years ago. And yet it's changing because if we want to go somewhere that no other generation has gone before, then we have to do different things in the generation before us. I speak for myself and for many others in my generation where we will not be satisfied with where y'all have gone, but we want to go deeper. We want to use the foundations laid by our ancestors to reach a generation and to reach a place that no other generation has reached before. Secondly, we get into section 3, the priesthood of all believers. And so what exactly is the priesthood of all believers? And it is the fact that we share in the priestly status with Christ. We read in 1 Peter 2, verses 5 and 9 through 10, it says, "You yourselves, as living stones, a spiritual house, are being built to be a holy priesthood, to offer spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ." And it goes down to verse 9, it says, "But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for His possession, so that you may proclaim the praises of the one who called you out of the darkness into His marvelous light. Once you were not a people, but now you are God's people. You had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy." And so, through the sacrifice done on the cross, that veil was torn, and now we have that direct relationship and communication to God through Jesus Christ. Now we are not dependent on others for our relationship with God, but we can take it into our own hands. We now have the right and authority to read scriptures and interpret it without the need of a priest to do it anymore. We no longer have to come to the altars and offer animals as sacrifices, but rather we can come down before the Lord and say, "Will you forgive me? I'm asking for your forgiveness. I need your mercy." And so it's encouraging as a believer to know that the Lord is so close and that we are able to speak with Him and develop our own personal relationship with Him. So finally, we get into section 4, empowerment by the Holy Spirit. And so we read in Acts 1, verse 8, it says, "But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit has come on you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and all Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth." And so we read next to when the Holy Spirit first descends that the disciples are filled with power, and they begin to go out and they begin to preach and teach in this newness of life that they didn't previously have because now the Holy Spirit was working through them. They spoke in one language, and yet every single person heard in their own language. And All of this is possible through the power of the Holy Spirit. Not that these men were any different than us now, but they allowed the Holy Spirit to work through them and to speak through them. And so even in our generation, we must rely so heavily on the Holy Spirit because it is only by His power that we have any chance. And the reason we have His power is to spread the gospel, spread the good news to all the ends of the earth. And so it is vitally important so that now when we go out to the mission field or we go out to our communities, we're not walking in our own power, but rather walking in the power of the Holy Spirit, who's strengthening us, who's working in our hearts every single day. And not only that, but comforting us in our afflictions. So that even when life is hard, the Holy Spirit is still working inside of us and strengthening us every step of the way for the work that the Lord has prepared for us. And so as we walk through these three sections, how church change is possible, the priesthood of all believers, and Holy Spirit empowerment, we see how each section is so vitally important for the work at hand. Change must occur if we don't want to stay the same. Change must happen. How the priesthood, now we have that relationship and connection with the Lord, and it's in our hands now. We're not relying on anyone else. And finally, just how the Holy Spirit empowers us to do things that we never thought possible. And so all we can do is be grateful and thankful for the Lord for all He has done. And I'm very grateful for this course and being able to walk through these things with you.